Something that people don't really understand when they're young is that life really doesn't start until you're in your 20s. When we're in middle school or in high school, it's really easy to think that what we're going through at that time is our entire lives. Popularity battles, sports, friends. To us at the time when you're a teenager, like everything has a major impact. Oh, you fumbled that girl, or oh, you didn't get onto the varsity team. It's your whole entire world until you leave, right? Once you get let out of the gates into the real world, you realize how little that matters. And once people are in their 20s and their young adulthoods, nobody really cares what happened during those early years. If you ask me, childhood up until high school is really just the tutorial. You learn how to learn, and society is molding you in a way so that you're trainable, so that you can be a player in the game and bring companies shareholder value. That's the point of college and all these high school classes, right? Most of the time, nobody remembers exactly the content that they learned in these classes. But the point of doing homework and making deadlines and taking exams is to prove to not only society, but to yourself that you can pick up a topic that you knew nothing about, learn it quickly, and prove that you've stomached it enough to at least prove yourself on an exam. They want you to be resilient, self-sufficient, and a good little cog in the machine, right? Whatever that is. But once you enter your 20s, you actually begin to learn the ropes of the world via experience. For most people, this era is like spawning into an open world game for the first time after you have just finished the tutorial. It's your first career job, it's your first time living alone, and it's the first time in life where people truly have the world in their hands. They can literally do whatever they want and face, you know, consequences as a result of whatever path they choose. They don't have to show up for school at 8 a.m., nor do they have to follow their parents' house rules anymore. Nobody is there to point you in a direction. There's no more homework, and a lot of your people's 20s are just consisting of picking up random hobbies, things like bouldering and pottery. These years are essentially just a mess of picking up side missions and learning the map. The funny thing is that a lot of people in their 20s, I'd say most people in young adulthood, have no idea what the hell they're doing. And that is just the natural dilemma of this time period. The concept of filing your taxes or signing up for employee benefits is just uncharted territory for lots of young adults. And a lot of the choices that you have to make become less binary like they were in school. It's not a matter of right or wrong, it's more so the less incorrect decision depends on the scenario that you're in. And for this reason, right, a lot of people make mistakes. Your 20s, your young adulthoods are going to consist of a lot of mistakes. And you'll find that a lot of the opportunities and achievements that you make during these years involve a good amount of luck. During these years, quite literally, everybody takes a different path in life. Some people move across the country to work at big tech. Others stay in their hometown to start a local business. Others take a gap year to backpack across Europe, and some people just go straight into the military. The list goes on. The amount of choices and decisions that people make in their early 20s are infinite. And not only this, the activities that people pursue in their free time vary drastically too. If there's something TikTok taught me, it's to not underestimate how big the world is and how many people are doing random side quests. From bouldering to gambling to rowing across the Pacific Ocean, it's literally a Big Bang equivalent of people running off to build their lives. And during this time, people are just learning about themselves. People try corporate for a couple years and they realize they hate it and that they want to go become a goose egg farmer, right? People are making mistakes around this time. So naturally, some people will take the quote unquote lead. And I say lead with quotes and asterisks around it because this is a highly subjective term to use. What defines being ahead of someone else is not straightforward at all. It really depends on what premise are you comparing it on, and I'll get into more into that later, but whether it was a meticulously crafted plan to start a successful business or literally a degenerate spamming call options on the stock market, some of these people will win big while others lag behind. And in today's day and age, this is a lot easier to see and significantly more visible simply because of technology and social media. This isn't a new concept, right? There's always been this concept of starting your 20s, and some people get lucky and others don't. But with social media and everybody trying to push their best foot forward and show off how glamorous their life is, you've probably been exposed to a lot of this. You'll see some role model, quote unquote, selling a course on how they made $7 million by gambling on the market. Or you'll see somebody else that's living in high rises and are, enjoying beers on a yacht every weekend, right? You're going to see this and you've undoubtedly seen it at this point. Depending on what your focus is at any certain moment in time, it's very easy to develop feelings of feeling behind or losing this race. And I think race is a good term for it because everybody in their 20s is seemingly in a rush. For example, if a coworker is younger than you and they've just taken out a mortgage while you haven't even thought about house shopping yet, you're likely going to develop this feeling of being behind. You're going to start having thoughts of like, damn, maybe I should be house hunting too. Maybe I should be having kids, starting a family, doing something, right? And during this whole time too, you might be dealing with confluence to these ideas, right? You might have mom in your ear asking for grandkids. You might have some tradition in your family that you're trying to live up to. The race that I'm talking about is essentially a race against timelines, the expected age that you're supposed to achieve certain societal milestones like marriage and kids or having your first house. People tend to use these societal milestones to gauge whether they are behind or ahead of the curve. But if you ask me, the problem with this mental model is that this idea of a race is simply an outdated figment of society. Whether you get married at 24 or 32, there is no prize. A 400K mortgage is still a 400K mortgage at the end of the day, regardless of your age. And even so, too, there's a chance that someone that takes a 400K mortgage out in 5 years compared to now might be better off because who knows, interest rates might fall or whatever, right? Sometimes being early doesn't always mean you win. And a big discussion that a lot of people have too is like the idea of children. Personally, I think that a lot of people are not fit to be parents. Some people shouldn't be having children. If you have no desire to raise them, you cannot provide the financial stability for them, or you simply just have undeveloped parental skills to ensure them a long, healthy, and stable life, maybe having children isn't the best thing for you. Don't have children just to have children because mom said so, or because Uncle Sam wants you to. The overall message here is that if you're approaching these milestones for the sake of doing what you think you should be doing compared to other people, you're already doing it wrong. You're simply feeding into the fear of missing out, FOMO. You cannot reliably map your route through life without establishing your destination, your purpose. Finding purpose is not an easy task for a lot of people. For some people, this purpose is to raise healthy and successful children. Their legacy lives through their children. For other people, the goal is hedonism. The ultimate good is the greatest amount of pleasure with the least amount of pain, or in short, simply enjoying life to the best of their ability. The list goes on. But I feel like a lot of people in their 20s, they're doing all these random activities, trying all these different paths, because they're looking for this purpose. And sometimes they'll fall into this trap of FOMO where they take on a task or they do something, they make a big life decision simply because they see other people doing the same thing. Your milestones should align with your purpose. And if you set any deadlines for yourself, they should be logical. Don't set an arbitrary deadline of 30 years old to achieve something for the hell of it. Set it at 30 years old because maybe it's during your prime physical or financial years or whatever the reason may be. My point is that if you are to set deadlines, there should be a good reason for it. And if not, stop chasing or figmenting this race. Your itinerary for life should be very intentional every step of the way. Of course, life doesn't always go as planned, but just like any other agenda, you adjust it along the way. And I'm not saying that you have to live by this day in, day out. The idea is that you should have a direction. Everything that you pursue or everything that you do should either be towards a direction or for the purpose of figuring out what that direction is. At the end of it all, when backgrounds are so different, when the paths you took in life are so different, when your purposes are different, the FOMO mentality is simply irrational. The chance that your background, path, and purpose 100% aligns with someone else's is essentially out of the question. It's impossible. In comparison to people that don't even share any of the same similarities as you, is a waste of precious resources. And what are these precious resources when you're in young adulthood? They're things like time and mental load. Everybody at this age is running on limited time, limited energy. They have bills to pay, they have relationships to sort out. They're trying to figure out how to get their finances in order. Nobody has the bandwidth to care about what other people are doing. So a lot of these people are wasting their times in reality shows or dramas or obsessed with celebrity lives or obsessed with TikTokers comparing themselves to them and trying to live their lives. You have your own life to live. You have your own purpose to set and to aim for, right? Just because someone else's life looks good, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the kind of life that will bring you fulfillment at the end of the day. You're comparing yourself to someone who isn't even trying to achieve the same things as you. Everybody says it, so it might be cliche, but there is really only one person on the planet who has the same background as you, the same path as you, and the same ultimate purpose as you, and that person is you. It quite literally only makes sense to compare yourself against yourself by measuring your own growth, where you were 6 months ago, where you were a year ago, 5 years ago. That is the only apples to apples judgment that you can truly make. Stop trying to race against a falsified figment of time and start establishing your own purpose and setting up milestones to achieve that purpose. We don't die at the age of 30 anymore, at least normally, right? We have medicine and whatnot, healthcare. There isn't that much of a race if you really think about it. There isn't much of a difference between 28 and 30 or 30 and 35. If you really want to become a winner in your life, your ultimate goal should be building the life that you want such that when Father Time comes and collects you, you have lived a fulfilling life. This should be your definition of winning. Nobody ever won a race by watching other people, right? If you look at winners in a race, they're focused on their race, they're focused on themselves, they're focused on their breathing, they're focused on their strides, they're focusing on the progress that they can make for themselves. That should be an analogy for your life. Stay in your lane, focus on your objectives, the things that bring you fulfillment. And if somebody tries to come in and say, hey, you should be doing this, 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 and this simply because the world told you to, you can tell them to stick it. Because at the end of the day, like only you really know what your purpose is.